another special episode of Podcast. Today, we explore the future of voice AI and IVR implementations for enterprises. Joining us is Andrew Charles Morehouse, a conversational intelligence lead utilizing AI to drive CX and revenue gain. With expertise in conversational AI, Andrew is a valuable contributor to the AI landscape. Great to have you with us, Andrew.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Also joining us is JP, the co-founder and CTO of SmartBots AI, bringing valuable insights from the forefront of AI innovation. Welcome, JP.
Hi, nice to be here.
Well, Andrew, could you provide a brief background about yourself?
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Of course I can. And I'll be succinct, as those of us who live in the minutiae of human conversation, we're not very good at being succinct sometimes. So I spent 16 years really in the world of conversation intelligence, leading projects that help understand what's driving customer experience and sales revenue, looking at the agent and the customer utterances, and then correlating that with positive or negative outcomes. And say the biggest learning is common wisdom, often, particularly in the contact center space. Empathy, smile when you dial, be polite and personable. That's not enough to drive really good experience outcomes. And the things that drive dissatisfaction, they're not being measured today. So we can touch upon that, but I think there's a much bigger topic afoot, which is the purpose of this conversation, which is getting AI right in customer experience engagements. But that's the short version. If you want a longer version, let me know. And I was the conversation intelligence lead for Deloitte Consulting in the UK. And for 9 years, managed 20,000 agents for insight and behavioral analytics for Capita, which is the UK's biggest outsourcer, BPO outsourcer. So, I've worked with big, meaty contact centers, most of my working career, really. So this is a space I love, and, we only have an hour. I'm sure JP and I could talk all day on this topic, but again, we'll keep on track today.
Thank you, Andrew, for a quick background that you have shed light on. And JP, could you share us a quick brief about the exciting projects you're currently working on in studio when it comes to smartbots?
Sure. So, about SmartBots, we are into the conversational AI space for about 6 years now, and we have been helping enterprises build chat and voice assistants. So, these projects that we have been doing primarily are to automate the customer support teams, help them with one first line of defense, as we call it, with the AI powered chat and voice assistants, so that the load on the human agents is reduced and the human agents can focus more on the more critical aspects around customer service. So that has been our focus area in the past. And this conversation with Andrew, I'm really excited because most of the time we talk about the state of the art technology, but the ground reality is the agents are the people who are the factors which determine the customer satisfaction today. And empowering agents is of utmost importance. And how do we automate the support activity is more of, how would I put it, a human factor is involved, which we typically don't give that much of emphasis on. Being a technologist, we typically think from what GenAI can do, what the chatbots or voice bots are capable of, but the ground realities are different. So I want to understand from Andrew today on what are the essential elements that we need to look into when enterprises are trying to solve a support problem, and primarily around automation. What are the fundamentals that we need to stick to? This is something which I'm really excited to have a conversation with Andrew today.
Thanks for sharing, Andrew and JP. Let's now shift our focus to today's main topic, which is voice AI essentials for enterprises and crafting the future of IVR implementations. Over to you, JP, to take over the spotlight.
Sure. So, Andrew, I think this is going to be an exciting conversation. And I'll start. I'm trying to give a structure to our conversation. So, we'll go from the traditional setup. What are the challenges at the customer support the teams were facing? I know that the traditional IVRs, which are there for more than a decade now, where you click one for going to sales, click two for going to track order status. So that was how the customer support ecosystem was, and we are slowly evolving to more conversational. And I see this the current status of the conversational IVRs are maybe you set give an utterance and then we map it to the right human agent. So that is the state. And the next future, my assumption is that we'll go to a more autonomous system where the voice assistant would eventually be able to address the query to a great extent before transferring to a human agent. So I'm dividing this into three categories. The past, where we have a click through. The second is where we are currently, which is understanding or doing a partial containment. And the third is future, where there is an autonomous systems. And we'll look at each of these phases of evolution, if we may call it. So talking about the existing system, I want to understand from you how was the customer experience in the traditional system? What were the setbacks there? What were the positive aspects there? Can you throw some light on, because I know that you have vast experience in this domain. Can you throw some light on that past experiences?
So, of course, it's worth just giving some context as well, perhaps, I think. So, the IVR, interactive voice response systems, everyone knows press one for sales, press two for customer service, whatever the options are. Those, let's call them tentacles, they were mapped out, as you said, 10, 15 years ago. And a set of disposition codes, these are the reasons people are calling, are logged, and it's mapped on that. So the bedrock of those IVR systems, Vonage or whatever the vendor is, they have evolved these disposition codes. So now you have addition of I'm unable to log in to my internet banking, but they haven't really, the basic premise hasn't really changed. There've been a few bolt-ons, my voice is my password, some little, we call it ID and V, identification and verification. But the core premise, so if I think about a bank, a UK, I can't mention the name, but a tier one UK bank I know very well, they have 180 IVR disposition codes. One of them, for example, is account inquiry, right? But account inquiry is such a broad category. And as you said, we're moving towards conversational or really, automated for full resolution, conversational voice AI systems. And having these categories just isn't sufficient. And again, if you look at the context, so take this bank, they have 180 telephone disposition codes. In their chatbot, they have just 100 pre-programmed, very clear. They call them intents. Why is the customer contacting us? That's synonymous, really, with disposition code. So already we have a mismatch in language, and the people who are designing the architecture, so not really the conversation designers, they they're not, those intents are using different names to the disposition codes. So people are talking about, let's have seamless journeys. But when they call them different things, you can't. And then when you look at the self-service options available, this particular bank has 420 self-serve options on the website. And when you really start prodding and poking and opening the bonnet, one of the biggest challenges is there isn't, and I'd like to call this taxonomy, intent taxonomy. There isn't a common language across the different channels. They're very, very siloed. So you have voice, variant this is public data, has 65% market share in the big enterprise contact centers. The Verint analysts will often sit with the head of data science. They will look at, this is why we have repeat contact. I did a project as part of a consultancy engagement with one of the world's largest insurance companies, and they have 120 million phone calls per year, across different countries, different geographies, crazy amount. And the purpose is not their intent. Their intention is, we want to move towards conversational voice IVR. This company's in Germany, so it's quite interesting. Americans are like, let's just get the technology in. The Germans are like, we have to look at it first. We have to be very organized. So the Germans, and I quite like their thinking, is very disciplined, very structured, engineering thinking. So for an entire year, all we did was capture the reasons for contact or the intent. And rather than saying press 1 for X, press 2 for this, 5% of customers were siphoned off, so it was manageable, to a voice AI bot. I won't mention the technology provider. And the question was, in your own words, please tell us why you're calling today. What is it you're looking to resolve? And that's it. And we just listened. Now, that didn't take them anywhere. There was no orchestration. There was no triage. There was no prioritization. That was just, because it was only 5%, just pure recording. And that took them straight through to an agent. So that went onto the agent's screen, so they knew what the customer was said. Because customers, excuse my language, get really pissed off when the agent said, oh, hi, yeah, how can I help you today? I've just told your machine. So, that's customer effort, customer burden. That is highly correlated. Getting customers to repeat themselves with dissatisfaction is really quite a high driver. So that just came up on the agent screen, but they were, within, I think, 5-6 seconds, routed to an available agent. And there was a bank of agents dedicated to having those calls, because you have to have a super skilled agent, because they have to be able to manage quite a range of customer intents. And they didn't get everything right. And so for the entire year, we just captured why the customers were calling. And I think this is a real failing in a lot of organizations. There is another way of getting some preliminary success. And a couple of voice first AI vendors are trying this. And it's very much siphon off the call, do the intent recognition, again, quite a small percentage. And if you can, deflect that to a self-service. So if they say, hey, there's an example with a shipping company in the UK. The company's FedEx. I won't mention the vendor, but the company's FedEx. And it's, hey, where's my parcel? Bloop. You get an SMS. You click it, find out where your parcel is. So it's not resolution by AI. It's orchestration. But you can get, in all the data I've seen, you can get pretty quick results. You can get about 12% of your calls deflected. Do customers call back? Yes. So repeat contact is higher when you go down that route. The highest I've ever seen is 18% of calls deflected, but there is a recontact rate within the hour of about 16%. So it's not perfect. So if the intent exists as a self-service menu, then it's deflected. So but it never goes higher than that, because, there are never just 180 intents. So in our work, after a year, when we analyzed for this insurance company, you have a very long tail of customer contact reasons. So let's take a shipping company. Where's my parcel is very, very common. It's 40% of why customers, 44% of why customers contact you if you're a big logistics shipping company. But Where's My Parcel is so broad. There are about, just within that category, I call them sub intents. You might call them nested intents. And this is the thing, each sub intent requires a different resolution. So you can't just put them all through to an agent. So Where's My Parcel? Is it still on track for delivery today? UPS Canada has a quite a pretty brilliant system, and it will divert you to Uber. It will divert you to an Uber style tracking app, so you can see your little brown UPS truck going chug, 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 chugging away, and it's the personal reassurance your parcel will be delivered at 13:45 to, I don't know, 14, 15. So they give quite a narrow window. You can see where that truck is, and the customer go, brilliant. They don't call back. It's absolutely brilliant. But within this long tail of nested or sub intents, down here you have, Where's My Parcel? You said it was delivered today. You told me you delivered it to my neighbor. Here's a photo of my neighbor's porch that UPS you provided me. That's not my neighbor's porch. Where's my parcel? You can't resolve that with your Uber style brown truck kind of chugging along. That needs to go to a human agent very quickly. They need to phone the driver. The driver needs to make sure he's available. Then they need to call the customer. That's an absolutely different resolution. And I would call this intent level resolution or intent level orchestration. And back to the insurance company, because I know this data very well, there were 4,000 very discrete reasons for contact or intents. And this is the challenge. That's just off telephony. Now, those are pretty much the same reasons people are, not quite, but you've got your social media, you've got often owned by marketing over here, different budgets, different teams, different people responding, and also with public comments. You have a digital team that often sits separate to telephony, and they call it, again, this taxonomy, they call these intents different things. And so you can't transfer them. So the first job it's not just conversational voice AI, but it's a higher level of contact orchestration. Imagine you're the conductor of an orchestra, and this is kind of a vendor for the big tech vendors, Genesis, Verint, Nice. 10 years ago, well, 8 years ago, they did a very good job of selling consolidation systems. So if someone messages from Twitter or Facebook, the agent can see it in one place. So they did an omni-channel consolidation platform. So they propagated this idea, meet the customer in their channel of choice. It's the worst ever idea, because you can't resolve banking fraud via Twitter. Ironically, you can't resolve banking fraud in the UK, at least, through a chatbot or even live chat. The only bank actually that's got this right so far is Lloyds Bank, who have now built some really good technology. So if you have some cash machine problems or fraud suspected on your account, the chatbot is able to resolve it. But in every other bank, you have to phone. And so all of these, you've got 4,000 inbound, very different customer contacts. And I think the biggest challenge is operation leaders, contact center leaders are talking about seamless customer journeys. It's the big thing, seamless journeys. When you have an IVR here, a digital team over here, self-service, some of the people who built that app are not the people who are coding your conversational AI messages. Then it goes to a human live chat agent who sits in a contact center in a bank. You've got a savings team, daily banking team. You've got a savings loans team. They're not aligned, and the biggest challenge is it's not exciting. and it's not sexy, and you can't fix this with AI. You've got to get everyone together and say these 4,000 things, when these come in, it's not meet the customer in their channel of choices. What is the single best place to resolve that? Like the UPS example, do we want to resolve it by sending a link to our little tracking app, or do we need to involve an agent? And until companies do that work, and that's a human intelligence problem, not artificial intelligence, you can't have an AI contact strategy. So the first step is to get the language right and gain agreement on where are we resolving these things. So that was quite a long-winded overview, but hopefully it gives you an idea of it's not this isn't a technology problem I see. It's a lack of strategy and human intelligence overarching, sitting above that. I know that was a bit of a rant, but hopefully that makes sense.
So, Andrew, I heard you mention that the live chat was also not working in few cases. But my understanding is in live chat, on the chat interface, agent is actually trying to assist the customer. So, why do you think that live chat might not work? And I also heard you mention that chatbots might not be the right solutions. Live chat also might not be the right solution. When voice is essential, it has to be voice only, be it intent-based orchestration or transferring to a human agent. I want to understand where live chat might fail.
I'll give you my view quickly. I think a conversational AI chatbot, when you have the right strategy, does a better job than human live chat. I think a lot of the failings, because a chatbot very rarely sits in isolation, because it can manage, they're getting very good now, a certain number of intents that are coming through. And when it can't, or I think 20% of customers generally, certainly in banking and telco, have two intents. And it's quite hard to manage through conversational AI. Only a few chatbots I understand can manage those multiple intents, because they might again need different resolution. And one of the best things any organization can do when looking at what's working and what's not working with the conversational AI to human live chat platform is not by looking at containment rate, because containment rate, if that chat didn't go to a human, there's a tick in the box which says it was contained. It's, you really want to look at resolution rate. Containment rates really, from my perspective, it doesn't give any actionable insight. So really looking at resolution. But then what the approach I've taken, I'm not saying this is the best approach, but it's the one I've used which has been very successful, is you take conversation. So we took again, it was at this particular bank, we took 10,000 conversations. So the AI chatbot was Watson AI, and the platform was Live Person. So if the Watson IBM chatbot couldn't figure it out, it only had 100 intents, which is not enough really. It went to a human, and we took 10,000 detractor. So net promoter score. If someone says, I'm a zero, well, the score is 0 to 6. And then if you're a 9 or a 10 in net promoter score, you're extremely likely to recommend this. So we took the worst of the worst. We took this where people have scored 0, 1, and 2. I can't remember if we took 3 now. 0 is 1 and 2. So we took the real extremely dissatisfied customers. And when you look at 10,000 really dissatisfied customers, what we found was it wasn't just the chatbot, it was the entire conversational AI to human live chat. It was 35.5% of those intents coming in could never be resolved in that channel in the first place. So over a third of your most dissatisfied customers are dissatisfied because that intent could never be resolved. And again, I'll give you some examples. So, and there are two buckets these things fell into. So I mentioned very briefly, but fraud, transaction disputes. We have something in the UK called a direct debit, where the bank can take the money automatically out of your account to pay a gas bill. So a direct debit indemnity claim, cash machine withdrawal, money got jammed, or it's called a CDM, cash deposit machine. I'm putting money in and my money got crumpled up, so my balance isn't reflected. So all of these things are problems that a chatbot isn't able to resolve, and that's okay. But the humans aren't able to resolve because they don't have the system permission. And this is the thing. Why would you allow your chatbot, once you've captured the intent, to continue a conversation, escalate to a human? And these are, it's called live chat, but it's live chat with a delay. No live chat really is live. You know, these agents are managing 3, 4, 5 concurrency, it's called. And so it's not live. It's not asynchronous, which is your WhatsApp, but it's, you know, it's a 30-minute conversation. And then the agent goes, I'm so sorry. This isn't something we can do. You'd have to phone. And in marketing terms, people say, oh, that's channel shift. It's not channel shift, it's onus shift. So all this talk of seamless is garbage. You're pushing the onus of responsibility back to the customer and saying, there's nothing we can do. I'm powerless to help. I'm powerless to resolve. You got to sort it out yourself. There's nothing I can do as a human agent to help you. You know, they're washing their hands of the issue. Whatever. 35.5% of all of your chat interactions end like that. And you're not fixing it. So it's really, I'd say, a burgeoning topic is, again, contact orchestration. I'm the orchestrator. Sorry, I'm not orchestrator. I'm the conductor of an orchestra. I quite like to use the word intent triage. So when America is very different because you pay huge amounts of money if you have the money. You go into an accident, an emergency, you get seen straight away. Whether you've stubbed your thumb, you know, stubbed your toe, or you've broken your arm. The service levels are the same, but the cost per patient compared to UK is 5 times higher. In the UK, quite interesting, you go in and you say, you meet the reception desk and you think, oh, it's just the nurses who are, or, you know, the receptionist. They're not just a receptionist. They are a triage specialist who's, it's brilliant, 1 to 5 priority. And that determines whether you get seen straight away or you wait. In UK, 6 hours waiting time. I don't know how things are in India, but 6 hours waiting time, 5 hours is not uncommon in A&E. And so the triage nurse is what we need in conversational AI. We need a triage bot, or a triage nurse, a triage bot who determines what is the intent and can I even resolve it in this channel? Facebook, Twitter, live chat, fraud, no. So the best companies, and this is, I think we'll see more of this over the next 3 to 5 years, but only a few are getting this right. And they're saying, again, we know we can't resolve fraud, so we're going to say, thank you for, you know, so, you know, there's always some, I'll call it false or canned or fake empathy, canned empathy, you know, it's like very prescriptive. I'm so sorry you're experiencing fraud. I know chat is convenient, but the only way to resolve this is with a phone call. And this is the chatbot. It doesn't never goes to a human because it can't be resolved by a human, fraud on live chat. And it says, I'm so sorry you're experiencing this. The only way to resolve this is a phone call. Are you free now? We're going to call you straight away. This is the number we have for you. Are you available now? Or if now isn't convenient for a phone call, because people, you know, if they're at work, you know, hey, they're on a video call. No, I'm not doing it. They're on a video call with work and they're chatting away, right? So they might not be free. So it's, can I call you back now on this number? Or schedule a phone call. Tell me when's good for you. And you schedule a call back. That's a seamless journey. Again, the technology capabilities are there, but what's required to make that happen is somebody needs to look at your detractors and go, why are 35% of our customers super pissed? It's because this is the wrong channel. Let's put in the correct triage bot to resolve this. And sorry, I didn't answer your question properly because I said there were two buckets, jumped around. So one is the system doesn't allow the process. Well, it's the banking processes, really. You can't resolve it on that channel. The second one is the human agents don't know the answer on live chat because often a live chat is quite a special, not a specialist, a generalist role. So in the contact center, again, banking, you have a loans team, you have a savings team, you have a day-to-day banking team, you have internet connectivity. If you've got problems logging into your internet banking, you have a specialist team there. Your live chat specialist doesn't sit in those teams. They're quite a generalist. So they don't have all the knowledge of a loan or a savings. So in the UK, we have something called an ISA. It's an interest-free savings account. It's a government thing. So you don't pay tax. You have to have a lot of money for it to make it worthwhile. But you can save so much money without paying tax on the interest. So they're called ISAs. And you can have a few with different bank accounts. So one of the common things that human advisors on live chat can't figure out is when the customer, and these are high net worth, high value individuals, 2, 3, 400,000 pounds in savings, $500,000. Hey, I'd like to put all my savings in your bank, £500,000. I want to consolidate it from Barclays, from and put it all in one place. So the chatbot can't answer that. And that's okay, because the question is, will I lose interest this month? Because you're paying me 4.5%, whatever. Will I lose out on my 3.5%? I'm losing out on interest this month. If I consolidate them, do you pay it? Or do I just lose that interest? So it goes to a human, and the human goes, I don't know. And the human, again, onus of responsibility. Well, you'd have to ask Barclays. I'm asking you, Tier 1 UK bank, not Barclays. No, sorry, I just don't know. Onus shift back to the customer again. Incredibly dissatisfied outcome, but you've just really pissed off a £500,000 or $500,000 customer. So triage, that requires a specialist. So the response should be not going to a generalist. The response should be, this requires a specialist conversation with one of our expert advisors. I'm going to call you. Is this the best number? Can we call you now? Seamless journey. And you don't get a generalist. You get a high value net worth premium banking agent to phone that customer. And they know the answers. Well, in theory, they know the answer. And these are, there are so many examples. But companies today this topic of triage, contact orchestration, being the conductor of an orchestra, doesn't really exist. And we have a government department with 60 million phone calls, 19,000 employees just on the phones, 19,000 agents, 60 million phone calls. And because the good thing about public sector is the data's public. So, because I'm a bit of a geek, I just look at the contact center performance tables, which are published each month, because it's interesting. 20% of phone calls aren't answered. 20% of 60 million phone calls, 12 million, aren't answered. Like, what are you doing? And then you look, 35% of customers are phoning with a payment query. So DWP is the department. It's the Department of Work and Pensions. So we have 5.5 million people on various benefits, which is absolutely fine. Unemployment benefits, childcare benefits, income tax benefits, universal credit benefits. There are 19 different types: a personal independence payment, disability benefits. I mean, some people in the UK earn £1,500 per month in benefits. That's pretty good going, you know. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, but it's true. They won't be watching this podcast. Sorry, that's terrible. But keep it in. So 35% of people phone essentially going, where's my money? Will I get paid today? I'm supposed to get paid. Am I going to get paid? They queue for an hour. The agent goes, you should get paid. So the language of certainty, you might get paid. Hopefully you'll be paid soon, shortly, sometime, possibly. I can't confirm, but I hope it happens. Very vague, and the word I like to use is uncertain language. There's no precision there, but uncertainty is the single biggest correlation with dissatisfaction. You know, you don't get that from your chatbots. Your chatbots are pretty good. Humans are terrible at being confident and so, especially when it's involving payment times or there's an in-field service. You know, my broadband's screwed up. When is the engineer here? He's late. Oh, he should be there soon. I know I'm going off on a tangent, but if you look at the scale of this problem, 60 million calls, 35% of those phone calls should be automated, routed with the right triage, intent capture and triage. Because back to your topic of, voice AI essentials. And so I did 2 years ago, I did some work with the leadership team at this company. I wrote a presentation saying, this is the vision for the future of the contact center. Slide number 1 was triage. And there was a statement, and I put it in deliberately to provoke them. 22% of UK patients to hospitals leave hospital on average without ever seeing a doctor. And they're like, oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. No, that's exactly the right answer for UK hospitals. Not everybody can see a doctor. If I've stubbed my thumb and I'm a triage 5, I see a nurse, or maybe I wait 6 hours and I walk out because I go, you know what? Wasn't that important? I'm not suggesting you should annoy your customers, but I think 20% or 30% of your customers who phone never speaking to an advisor is a great idea. And I think 30% is probably about the right number of calls that can be resolved without a human agent. So if I have 60 million calls, my target would be 30% of them to be automated with the correct overarching contact orchestration approach. So my 60 million goes down to 40 million. And when you do the numbers, you never ever achieve an OPEX, operational expenditure saving, from a chatbot, because to achieve a saving, you have to fire your human agents. Never ever happened in any company I've ever seen. But through natural attrition, so these employees, contact center attrition, a good number is 20%, most are at 30%. You just don't hire as many. So over the year, 2, 3, 4 years, you can lower your staff headcount over 3, 4 years by 30%. And when you've got 20,000 agents, I can't remember, I did the calculation, and it was £250 million in OPEX saving. So people are grumbling about a license fee on a chatbot, or it's not about the license fee. You've got to look at the whole thing. You might be spending 10 million on technology, but over 3 to 5 years in that company, you're going to save £250 million in purely salary. And and then when you look at the total loaded headcount, induction, recruitment, onboarding, training, you're up to £400 million. Don't complain about our £10 million for our tech solution with a bit of consulting then. So I know I'm going slightly on, but I'm trying to keep it to voice AI and the future of voice and the potential. But to loop things around back to this German example, being German, what they've done is again, right, we're implementing intent capture. So now they've changed their IVR. So now they know they're capturing why customers are calling, but now they've got the correct routing. So they've put in the correct routing and automation. But they decided we're not ready yet to do full resolution, trying to resolve it with an AI conversation. So if it's possible, they will deflect, well, not really deflect, they will route to a self-service option. How is my claim insurance company, when will my claim be paid? It's pretty, here, here's your case management file. You can see the status of your claim here. If you phone, you're going to wait 17 minutes and the agents have exactly the same information. So they're going to give you the same answer. It says it more politely than I'm saying it, but it's like you can either phone or you can look yourself. The answer's the same, buddy. That's not the actual AI conversation, but that's what it's saying. And so they've gone, we're not ready to resolve conversations with AI. And I think it's a very good point. You shouldn't conversationalize anything if you have an existing self-serve option. Don't reinvent the wheel. Take those conversations, and when they come through Facebook, Twitter, have a triage bot plug in and get those things routed to your self-service options, which you've already built with a different team over here. And that's the thing, the digital teams, oh no, we're going to build this again. Don't do it. Just get the right conductor, and the conductor has to be empowered. And the only way you get he's not Mozart, I don't know who conductor. The only way to empower the conductor is to give him permission, or your triage bot. And that's the human intelligence, because you've got to get marketing together, contact center operations, probably your telephony, somebody in the IT team, you need the digital team there, and you all have to agree where the conductor, and you've got 4,000 intents. And it's not intelligence, because you've got the smartest people in these roles. It's this horrible word, collaboration. People, because the day job, I'm managing a contact center, and you're asking me to join a meeting where I'm going to review 4,000 things with colleagues, and I've got to go to London, and I've got to do this meeting, and I've got to have a sprint and a phone call every morning at 9 o'clock. I haven't got time because I'm running a contact center. So I get penalized by collaborating because you're not paying me any more money, and my day job doesn't go away. I've only seen a few companies, which I can't remember if I mentioned, UPS in Canada, AT&T America, and Bank of America, and they have a C-level top-down directive, and these people are taken out of the role, and it's like, fix this. We've got 6 months to figure out our contact orchestration strategy, because everything is siloed and we need a layer above the top. And you don't need a consultancy to help to do this. You can figure it out yourself. But without that C-level sponsorship, the chief operations officer or the CEO, you very rarely have a customer experience officer at board level. Customer experience might sit in marketing, might sit in contact center. They don't have enough power to make this happen. So most companies are just bolting on a chatbot, playing around, a different team, data science team, playing around with voice AI, and none of it is seamless because they're not, I hate this word, collaborating. The answer is human bandwidth. And obviously you've got great technology, having the right technology to enable this to happen, really. I know we're coming up to the end of our time, but hopefully that gives a bit of a view of what I see happening over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, it gives a very comprehensive view, and thank you very much for that insights, Andrew. I mean, I'll just try to summarize what I understood so far, and if there's something which you still feel is different from what I am just going to summarize, let me know. So I see that the role of conversational intelligence is important while strategizing a voice automation, right? So you gave few examples on how to get the voice intelligence, maybe conduct in the example that you have quoted a year-long activity of capturing how users are going to interact with the system, and then build based on that insights, process them, and then look at what would be the right intents. And also the long tail is something which you'll have to understand which are the ones which you should maybe not focus so much, but focus more on the ones which are most common. And you gave few examples on the logistics industry where is my order would be the most common query that people might ask. So this conversational intelligence is extremely important, so the business leaders should focus more on understanding the user intents, which would be the most common ones, and also focus more on triage, not on like fully automating with a voice solution. Focus on triage, see where the focus more on resolution, not on containment. Ensure that even if you have a live chat, ensure that the user query is resolved. If not on the live chat channel or on the chatbot channel, the user should be directed to the right place, right channel. The triage there at every channel that the enterprise builds is important. If not a generalist, it has to be directed to a specialist. And lastly, you were also mentioning about multi. I mean about this getting the triage after the triage. You'll have to get the conductor is another important factor that you have mentioned about, and also getting the triage right, and enterprise getting all the stakeholders into one room and then working at an organization level, not just dumping the technology and then hoping that things will work out with automation might not be the right strategy. You'll have to look at a holistic level involving multiple stakeholders, be it marketing, be it support, and other teams as well. So this is how I'm seeing the enterprises should strategize while dealing with how to get the voice automation, voice AI correct. Is that a good way?
It's a perfect summary. I think it's a perfect summary, and it's a loaded question. But if you speak to a contact center leader and say, in 10 or 15 years' time, when somebody calls your contact center, are they going to mostly interact with a human or a robot? And I say robot intentionally. And they go, probably a robot or a bot. Yeah. And you go, exactly. How are you going to get there? I don't know. So there is no, it's not a glide path because you're not gliding there. This is, no one's gliding. There's not a glide path. It's a broken track of, oh my, it's like stuck in mud. This is hard work to get there. So it's not a glide path. The analogy is probably just making this up, but it's like a muddy bridle way, and you're getting bogged down and you need to dig your car out and you keep going. It's not easy. And dashing ahead and bolting on little solutions isn't the answer. I think the my recommendation is to, because I'm a conversation scientist and my focus is conversation intelligence, I'm probably very biased towards the solution, conversation intelligence. But unless you know, and this is the thing, and this is hard, but you want to know for these 4,000 intents today, what is your resolution rate and what is your satisfaction per intent? Now, you can plot them on a little 2 by 2 graph, a 4 box graph. Okay, resolution rate, satisfaction, and maybe that graph's somewhere. Do I have to do it backwards on the video? So, resolution rate, satisfaction, 4,000 intents. You need to plot that out, and then you go, okay, upper right hand side, full resolution, full satisfaction, tick in the box. Let's automate the hell out of those intents. Bottom right, terrible resolution from our current approach and terrible satisfaction. Let's never automate those. That needs specialist thinking, that needs specialist involvement, and probably always human involvement. And this is what we did. You need to map 4,000 intents, satisfaction, resolution. And unless you know that, you cannot plan any level of automation strategy. You're just guessing. Let's automate banking query. Well, in a banking accounting query, you've got, this long tail, 200 reasons. I'd like to open an account for my 12-year-old in the UK is a different resolution to I'd like to open an account for my 13-year-old. 12-year-old has to go in branch with a passport. 13-year-old, you can do it with a passport and the video camera phone. You know, so the people who are doing often variant IVR telephony analysis, oh yeah, 8% of our queries are banking queries, like current account inquiries. What can you do? What can you do with that? When you look at, I'd like, when you do on chat, you start your chat, I'd like to open an account for my 12-year-old. Why can't I do it online? Yeah, sorry, you need to go on the branch. Resolution is 0%. Dissatisfaction, if you measure NPS, it goes minus 100 to satisfaction, as a net promoter score was, I think, minus 70. So the parents are outraged and there's no other option. Yeah, you just have to go branch. Why should that ever happen in a live chat conversation? The chatbot should go, hey, because of the way the legality and the rules, but I'll tell you what, I can make an appointment in branch for you, pick a time, because I don't want you queuing. That's a seamless journey. There's nothing I can do. It's not a seamless journey. And again, the word onus shift, pushing it back to the customer, nothing we can do. Unless you start doing true conversation intelligence, you're just guessing. And you will never drive customer experience outcomes in the way you want to drive them. But your summary is perfect. And I think, that 12 or 13-year-old banking example is quite a nice, succinct kind of illustration of how difficult this is. And you don't get that intelligence from your current IVR reporting with 180 contact reasons, because, that's it's not quite the end of the long tail. It's probably not in the top 80% of queries. But if you want to really if you want to become a leader in digital banking, well, you have to do this analysis because you can't fix it unless you do that.
Thank you, Andrew and JP, for sharing your valuable insights on voice AI essentials for enterprises. But before we conclude, any final thoughts or words of wisdom you would like to impart on our viewers navigating through this evolving, highly volatile landscape of generative AI in customer interactions? Let's start with Andrew and then we'll move on to JP.
I think conversation intelligence is king. Sentiment isn't sufficient. Don't use some sentiment analysis tool. You're not going to get the answer. You need to understand your 4,000 intents across all channels. And as I've mentioned a few times, it's not an artificial intelligence problem. It's a human intelligence problem here. And people being stuck, siloism, is that even a word? Stuck in their silos. And this digital conductor bot, I don't know, I'm just making stuff up, but you need somebody conducting the orchestra of customer contact if you want a beautiful tune. That's not a bad analogy. I'll let you have that one. That's the short answer.
Thank you, Andrew. And final thoughts to close out, JP.
Sure. I think the master here is Andrew. I have learned a lot from these interactions, and I really like the analogies, the examples that he has quoted. One were quite easy for our listeners also to get a hold of the subject, because conversational AI or all the topics that we have been so far discussing are so technical, but the grassroots problems are very fundamental. And as Andrew has mentioned, this is a human intelligence problem and less of a artificial intelligence problem. So I think I've learned a lot in this session. I've learned how important conversational intelligence is for the enterprise while designing all these solutions. Triage is another important factor from a technology. If I play the role of a technologist, I understood that triage is of absolute importance while designing this technology. So these are the lessons learned. Thank you, Andrew. This was really insightful and helpful for me.
My absolute pleasure. It's been wonderful to speak with you today, and I'm sure we can have many more conversations in the future. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to be on your podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew and JP, and I appreciate your expertise. And to our viewers, stay tuned as we unravel more aspects of generative AI and other technological advances. Join us next time on Botcast. Stay curious, stay informed.